Let people in. Hi, everyone. Let's see who we've got joining. Welcome. Christine, Eleonora, Kim, come on in. Nisha, Rosemary, hi guys. We're giving everyone a minute or two to join. Thanks for joining us. Welcome, Louise, Lisa, Tasha. Wow, we're getting loads. Hi, Nisha. Glad it's good to be here. Good to see you. Oh, we've got Illinois. Where is everyone from? So we've got Christine from Illinois. Who else have we got? Type a message in the chat, guys. Let us know that's working. Nisha's from the UK. I am in the UK, but you can probably tell that I'm not from the UK. I'm from Australia. South Florida, more UK. Excellent. Welcome, guys. Ghana. Wow, nice. North Carolina. Fantastic. Houston. Sorry, nice. Welcome, everyone. While we're giving everyone a moment to settle in and situate, I would like to introduce you to Katie. Katie, for those of you who didn't join our previous call, Katie has been a VA for quite a, how long, Katie?
I've been a VA for nearly 10 years.
Wow. Okay, so Katie's been a VA for nearly 10 years, there we go, and has so loads of experience that she's going to share with us today. And how about, I've actually got a poll here. Let's test out the polls. Did you attend the EA How to VA panel discussion? Launching the poll. There we go. We had an EA How to VA panel discussion about building a successful career as a freelance VA. Let us know if you were there or if you didn't know about it. So a couple of people are saying that they didn't know about it. You can find recordings of all the EA How to webinar sessions on the EA How to YouTube page. I'll pop a link to that in the comments in a moment. So we've got a few who were, a few who weren't, sorry, and some who didn't know about it. Okay. There we go. Yeah, so I will share that so that you can catch up, because we had a great panel discussion where we had 3 really experienced VAs, including Katie, who were all talking about having a successful career as a freelance VA. So that's a really useful discussion for you to jump in on and have a look at if you haven't already. Today we want to keep it very casual and specific and answer your questions. So rather than doing a presentation, we'd like to do the whole thing Q&A style. So you can start by using the Q&A in Zoom. Send your questions through. While you're doing that, I'm going to kick off with some of the more common questions that Katie sees and that I see all the time about being a VA, having a small business and what you need to know. But start sending your questions in straight away and we will start making our way through them. So I think the easiest thing we can do is to start at the very beginning. If you're new to being a VA, Katie, where would you start? If you've got absolutely no idea, you haven't done anything yet, where do we start?
I think that's a really great question. And funnily enough, I also think that's probably one of the most common questions. I think people feel like they're sitting and staring at a blank piece of paper and just have no idea where to start. Funnily enough, I think you go back a stage. You go back to the point where you define your business. So you really need to understand exactly what you're selling and marketing before you even start having those types of conversation. So I would say the first thing to do is sit down with a piece of paper and a pen, or whichever method suits you, and very carefully work out, what am I selling? What are my services? Who am I going to be delivering those services to? What does my ideal customer look like?
Oh,
Once
this is so important. Oh, I think we've got Katie's frozen. Katie, I'm not sure if you can hear me. You have at least frozen on my...
Incredible conversations.
Oh, there we are. She's back.
I'm back. Here I am.
Okay. I'm really glad you brought that up, because defining your ideal customer, in any business, no matter what business you're running, small business, large business, freelancing, is, I would argue, the very first most important thing that you need to do. Because if you don't know what you're selling and who you're selling it to or providing it to, then you don't know how to target your marketing, you don't know how to speak to your client, you don't know how to relate to them, how they're going to relate to you. And it's a more complicated exercise. It's not complicated, that's the wrong word, but it's a more involved exercise than it sounds, because you could just say, oh, well, I'm offering assistant services, so it's anyone who needs an assistant. And it's actually not. That's way too broad. And so are you a experienced legal professional who is going to be targeting lawyers or barristers, and in a particular, what kinds of barristers are you going to be talking about? Insolvency barristers? Are you talking about high-level QCs, silks, that kind of thing? You are not just somebody who's providing, oh, just admin services to anyone who needs it. You really, really need to nail it. And that's why you'll see on LinkedIn people who are talking about, I help female entrepreneurs. They're an assistant. They could help anyone. But what they're advertising is that they specifically help female entrepreneurs. They might be targeting mums, so busy mums, to help free up their time, or jet-setting professionals. So they're really focusing on travel. And that's really, really important. So just so we've got an idea of what stage everyone's at, I'm going to launch one more poll to let us know how long you've been a VA. So answer that for us so we know, are we talking years, less than 12 months, or you haven't started yet but you're thinking about it? And that'll help us drive the conversation. So pretty much everyone here is saying that they're not yet, but they're thinking about it, or it's been a few months to less than 12 months. But yeah, so almost everyone has just started or they're thinking about it, which is perfect, because Katie actually mentors and coaches VAs and people starting their VA business. So she will be able to talk to you a lot about all of this. But yeah, that's perfect. Thanks very much for answering that, guys. First question that we've had come through: what kind of technology do you use? I mean, do you receive specific instructions about how to protect the file of your clients? Do you have a different server to keep them separated?
An interesting question. We're sort of trying to gear ourselves around the sales and marketing aspect, I think, today. Very briefly, wherever possible, have everything hosted on my client server. I do not host it at home at all, ever. If I have to host it at home, what I make sure I do is I back up everything off my computer on a daily basis, but off site. It is not held here in my office on my hard drive. So quick, simple answer. Okay,
and so what kind of service would you use to host it off-site?
I use a managed service, actually, which I use through all of my IT support provides me with a managed service off-site.
Right, okay. So while we're on that, do you use a IT provider that is something like you can dial in and you have like 24-hour access or something?
I do, absolutely. Okay. I've got a fantastic company that I use. Funnily enough, they're based down in Southampton on the south coast, so they're miles away from me in Gloucestershire.
Yeah.
But I use them because they are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And as we all know, being a virtual assistant is not a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job. And the likelihood is that these types of problems catch you at 5 o'clock on a Friday evening.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Absolutely. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I could not live without them. They are pretty important.
So we have Estella asking another question here. How do you create content that provides value to your ideal client? What kind of content would that involve?
Really, really good question. Gosh, brilliant. Okay, so first and foremost, I think I'd be looking at my client base. Who am I targeting? What are their challenges? So once I can understand what their challenges are, I can start pushing content that's appropriate to that challenge. So let's think about somebody perhaps in the travel industry. You know, you need to be able to come up with solutions that would be pertinent to them. So reliable service providers, 24/7 concierge services, you know, all of those sort of things that are pertinent to that industry. But you have to do your research on your ideal client base to get your messaging right for everything. And I mean everything. So that's all of your marketing material, be it a bit of social media stuff, or it may be even just a wee bit of PR that you might have got in the local paper. If you keep it all very focused, you will not get yourself into a pickle, and clarity is vital. If you are not pushing a clear message out, your customers aren't going to know what you're doing. So keep it clear and keep it simple and keep it concise and keep it kind of on trend with that industry.
You know, I did this exercise for EA How To fairly recently. I mean, EA How To has only just celebrated its 1-year anniversary. So to give you an idea of what we're talking about here, the level of detail that I go into when I'm doing it, I call it my ideal client avatar. My ideal client has a name. I know who she is. I know how old she is. I know her birthday. I know whether or not she has a partner. I know what kind of role she's in and what kind of role she's looking for, what her qualifications are, what her aspirations are. I know what she likes to watch on TV. I know all of these things about this imaginary person who I have gone into so much detail about her that she's no longer an imaginary person. I have a stock photo of who she is and what she looks like. I know what she likes to wear. And the reason that's important is if you look at the different businesses that I'm involved in, something like EA How To, which is targeted at women who are sort of early 30s, well, that's targeted at my ideal client, who is 34 years old. She's educated. She has been working as an EA for a couple of years now, and I know her aspirations. I know she likes to watch Gilmore Girls. I know what she wants to do. I know what her boyfriend does. If you look at all of the different things I'm involved in, the way I speak to her is going to be very different to the way I speak to clients at TruePhone who I work for and I make videos for, who are involved in the Internet of Things and eSIM technology.
Exactly.
Also work that I've done for a barrister's chambers where we're talking about high-level QCs at the top of their game, where I would never dream of using the same kind of email, the way I speak, how I communicate to EA How To as I would with barristers. It just wouldn't work. So the reason I can make the only rule, anyone who's a member of the Facebook group for EA How To knows that there's only one rule in our Facebook group, and it is don't be a dick. And I would never be able to say to my TruePhone clients or to my barristers, as much as I might like to sometimes, I can't just go, hey, how about we don't be a dick today? But I can say it to EA How To. I can talk about peace, love and pink gin to the EA How To group, but I could never say that to my barrister clients. And if I'm trying to target barristers for VA work, my copy needs to speak to them. My copy needs to talk to them about how professional I am and how much I know about their business and how much I know about their needs. I can't go and say, you know, dear Dave QC, peace, love and pink gin, peace. Like, it just doesn't work. So that's the level of detail we're talking about.
Absolutely. And just going on further from that is, you know, if you are really clear when you start out where you want to be working and who you're targeting, you will actually get to know those people really quite quickly and really quite well. So, you know, really work on that right at the very beginning, you know, work out who it is, why you want to work with them, and then pitch your business to them. And every step of the way for social media, add value. Don't just sell your service.
Yes.
Add value. You know, actually, I saw a
Look
post
at
on
Tipsy
LinkedIn.
Tuesday. You know, for EA How To, every Tuesday where I'm giving away information. I'm doing free webinars right now. We're doing a free webinar, which is to communicate with you and provide value. It's not just, hey, I want to increase my member numbers, or I've got something to sell you. You know, all the way along, most of the time you don't even know if I'm selling anything to you, because we're just providing value all the time, building trust, until that point where maybe I'll say, hey, by the way, I also have this service. Would you? Are you interested?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think that's absolutely spot on.
Somebody is asking how much an IT service costs and for offsite data storage. This is going to be obviously very ballpark, because it depends on what you want and
do your research. I mean, there are plenty of providers out there. You need to find a managed service provider, but absolutely do your research. There are lots and lots of them out there. Some of them charge on a monthly direct debit basis. Some of them you can pay in advance. I mean, there are some great ones out there, but just do your research. It's managed service is what you're looking for.
Let's have a chat for a moment about social media. How do you rely on social media? How much business do you get from social media?
It's the $1 million question. Okay, social media absolutely has its place and should form part of your entire marketing plan. Okay, it is not something that you can wholly rely on, and I worry that people think that they're going to get genuine business opportunities purely by driving stuff and activity through social media. You have to see social media as a support tool rather than actually where your business is largely, and I will put that caveat in, largely come from. So I would suggest that you use all forms of social media. Being an oldie and a little bit old and fuddy-duddy as I am, I actually only use LinkedIn and Instagram for my social media. But I do make sure that I connect my website to my social media as well. So, you know, you can access my social media through my website, and I regularly push kind of, you know, content through on my LinkedIn back to my website, so you can refer to. But social media cannot, under any circumstances, be relied on as your only method of marketing your business, and should never be considered as such either.
100%. Having spent a fair amount of time in social media, I would argue that you can actually only do one, sometimes two platforms really well, and you really need to focus on. So you can have a huge YouTube channel, and from that you might get a really good Instagram following as well, but it's unlikely that you're going to have big numbers on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everything. You might have a huge Facebook page. It's unlikely that you also have a huge Twitter and YouTube page. That's just generally not how it works. And I've seen those statistics through being at YouTube. It's pretty rare to be big on all of those platforms, but also the reach of those platforms is often greatly overstated. So as an example, I was part of a campaign that went very, very big on Twitter, and we were on CNN. We were retweeted by Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, Ashton Kutcher. Wow. And we had, you would think, wow, the huge spike you would get from that. We had this little flutter you saw in our analytics that went up. Most people clicked on it and then went away within about 2 minutes. It's very easy to overstate the reach of Twitter in particular. So just because somebody's got huge numbers, it doesn't mean that they've got a huge amount of engagement and people listening. But also think of your social media as your social proof. So if I'm wanting to hire someone, think about if I want to go and get my hair done. I want to see pictures of the kind of hair that they've done. So yeah, going to them because they have a big Instagram following. In fact, they might have hardly anyone on Instagram. What I'm going for is I want to see what kind of hairstyles they do, what do the colors look like, because that's a little bit of social proof for me. So I want to see other people retweeting pictures of their fabulous haircut that they've just had, because that makes me feel better about choosing a new hair salon. So think providing social proof.
Yeah, and I think also the other thing about social media is it's very easy to get carried away with the fact that you've got 50 likes on a post that you posted and think, oh my goodness me, brilliant, I've got 50 prospect customers. You haven't. No. That's probably your mum.
Think about how you use it. How many likes do you give?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, you cannot rely on it.
And if
I
only
always
likes
think,
paid the rent.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, when I get to that sort of 10,000 followers and I can swipe up. Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely a vital support tool to your marketing activity, but it cannot be considered or relied on to be the sole focus of your activity. I think marketing is basically a number of different activities that you have to plan to do within your working week. You set time aside to do this work as you would do to do your client work. Now, Sunday night is my night because it kind of gets me in the frame of mind for the rest of the week. So on Sunday evening, I sit down and I work out where I want to post and all of my social media bits and pieces. Who is sitting on my prospect list that I haven't engaged with recently? How should I engage with them? Are there any periodicals, newspapers, magazines that I think I probably ought to be trying to get a bit of PR into? You know, this is a whole thing. You know, it is not just sitting there waiting for the social media. And I pick up the phone and I speak to people.
That's a really good one. We actually have a poll here for that because I wanted to talk about getting away from social media and actually picking up the phone and calling your prospects. So give us an indication on, this might be very low because so many of you haven't actually started yet, but when did you last pick up the phone and call your prospects? Now, to be fair, I understand a lot of you haven't started this yet, so a lot of you won't have called anyone. But really, really important that social media is an add-on to everything else you do, because I would say that still the most valuable thing you can do is to, not even an email, like you said, pick up the phone, talk to someone, ask them what they need and offer your services. After that, I would say email, and after that, I would say social media. But it's good. We've had, so a lot of people are saying what call, some are saying within the last few months, I think, and we've got, I think, one person who has said that they've actually called their prospects in the last 2 weeks. So, Katie, do you want to tell us about your?
Yeah, I will, absolutely. Okay, so the first thing really with regards to telephone calls is it's not just randomly picking up the phone and sort of blanket calling your.
You're not a telemarketer.
List. No, you're not a telemarketer, and if you kind of pitch yourself like that, I think you might be doing yourselves a massive disservice. So be very specific and careful about selecting the people that you are going to pick up the phone to. Now, there's a step kind of before this, which is what I call your referral network. You know, these are people that you may well have worked with in the past. You know, give them a bell, check in with them, let them know what you're doing. It's a catch-up conversation. It's not a sales call at all. But you'll be amazed by just having those conversations, how many people will say, oh, do you know what? I've got this friend, George, he's just set up his own business. He's really struggling. Let me put you in contact. And you start picking up bits and pieces along the way like that. So go back a step, start with your referral network. You know, who have you worked with? Friends who've got their own businesses, family. You know, start talking to those individuals. You'll start building up a list of people where there is a clear opportunity for you to work with. And you will expand that list literally week on week on week on week on week. And when you pick up the phone to talk to a new prospect, never consider it as a sales call, consider it as a check-in. How are you? Just updating you on what I've been doing. Maybe give some examples of bits and pieces of work that you have done. If you are new to it and don't have any examples, turn it on its head. Give the ideal scenario that you have in mind, because you've done your definition about what your ideal customer looks like, so that they can see exactly what it is that you're going to be able to bring to them.
And your
Okay.
previous assistant work counts too. So just because you haven't done bookkeeping for a freelance client, if you've been doing bookkeeping in your job, you've done bookkeeping, you know, take your former boss out for coffee and just as a catch up, hey, because it's always good to stay in touch and be on good terms with your former employers anyway, you will have a better referral than somebody you have already worked with who refers you to somebody who they know. The highest possible chance that you have of actually landing a client is through word of mouth. So if you can just go and have a coffee and you're chatting with your boss and yes, I'm doing these services, I'm providing them on the side right now while it grows, you know, and they'll inevitably so regularly come out with, actually, I've got this friend who started this business and he's been looking for somebody to do X, Y, and Z. Very common. So another question we have, is it possible to know from your experience an average of startup budget, for example, marketing, IT, office technology, furniture, that you think, that you should need to start this business?
That is a brilliant question. Well done. Somebody's really thinking about it. I think realistically, if you're starting from scratch and so you don't have a laptop, you might need to upgrade your internet. You know, there are so many things to consider, but I think actually at the outset, you've got all of the insurance policies that you need to take out. You know, it is not cheap to set up and straight away. So I would say £5,000. I'm afraid, if you're going to do it properly and make sure that you are registered with all the right organisations, from the Information Commissioner's Office to anti-money laundering. If you're going to be doing bookkeeping, you have to be registered. You know, I would say £5,000, and that's probably £1,200 of which will be your decent laptop.
Yeah, and if, you know, have a think about how you can start on the side and grow. So it could be that you already have a good enough laptop to do certain things, that you know, you're not dealing with bookkeeping right away, and you can start with basic stuff. Like maybe you end up just managing social media for someone for a while and take on a client at a time.
Absolutely.
One thing that I did when I was starting my previous wellness company years ago, I had a separate account that I didn't touch the money in. And every time I made money from a freelance gig of any kind, so if I saw a client and I was doing one-on-one wellness with them, if I was doing meditation classes, if I had sold some recordings, all of that money went into that account. And anytime I needed to spend on the business, it came out of there. So I could see exactly how much I was spending. And I might have said up front, okay, I'm willing to spend $2,000 on this business, and that's all I've got. And I might need 5, but I don't need 5 right now. Right now I need $2,000, and all of the money that I get from all of these little side gigs is going to go into this account. And as it builds up, that's there for when I need the new laptop, when I need to pay the registration fees, when I need to pay for the insurance. So think about how you can start on Upwork. You know, offer some freelance social media, offer some, you know, just email handling and that kind of thing, stuff where you don't need to host anything on your servers. You know, choose your clients carefully so that you don't have those kinds of costs, because a lot of you already, particularly now that we're all at home anyway, probably
you're already doing it
and you're already doing it.
Exactly.
So, you know, think about how you can reduce the cost, because there are lots of ways for you to not have to do all of those things. So and it could be that you're even, you know, hired on a short-term or fixed-term contract, so you may not need to take on certain insurances because you're an employee. Even though I know you want to freelance eventually, what does it matter while you're building this up? So, you know,
really good point. And I don't want to say £5,000 to consider, is there is an awful lot to it if you're running it as a business and it's your sole income, etc. So just make sure that you dot the I's and cross the T's wherever you need to.
We have another question here. How do you navigate the minefield that is the HMRC when starting up your own VA business? For example, sole trader versus PLC. That's a good one. I've not had to do that.
It's a really great question. And first and foremost, I would say HMRC are not scary anymore. They used to be you know, a really stuffy old environment that was really cold and unwelcoming. They've come a long way from that. So, you know, I would ask all the right questions. I think my best piece of advice is find somebody that you know who might be an accountant.
Having another little technical issue. We've lost Katie for a
Have I
sounds like she's coming back. There we
Yay! Sorry about that. I've got an 18-year-old daughter who's clearly doing something on Netflix at the moment. Apologies, everybody.
No worries at all.
Yeah, now I would see if you can find a friend who is an accountant or has got some little bit of experience working with HMRC and let them help you through. I cover it off in my mentoring and coaching in quite some detail. But you know, if you're just looking for a bit of pointer, then friends and family, I mean, really, you can't go wrong with that.
Let's have a really quick chat about websites. What are your thoughts on, do I need one? How do I get one? What's the most cost-effective way to do it?
So I'm a newbie to websites too, because I was very lucky in the fact that my business largely grew on word of mouth. But 2 years ago, I made the conscious decision to actually really start pushing myself out into the sort of public domain a little bit more, partly because I'd had a client that I negotiated my way out of because I realized it was not such a great decision. It was the first time ever I'd really had to go out and sell myself. So I started my first website a couple of years ago and have recently relaunched it and rebranded it. It has made all the difference. I would wholeheartedly recommend that you get a website in this day and age. It is your shop window. It is, think of Harvey Nichols at Christmas with all those fantastic displays and how much that draws you in. It absolutely is your shop window, and it is a really good tool for bouncing, you know, your social media stuff through, you know, a little bit more information about you. You can do case studies, you know, really demonstrate what you do and what value you would bring to any client. So 100% website. There are some brilliant do-it-yourself website kits out there these days. You do not have to go to the expense, exactly, of hiring somebody to do it for you. It's straightforward, it's drag and drop. You can use all the imagery that you want, you can connect your social media, and it is very, very straightforward.
Yeah, I would echo the exact same thing. Don't go getting too fancy. You know, you need a couple of pages on your website max. You don't need people to be able to pay for things online. You know, you can still,
I would
there are
recommend
services for all of that.
Yeah.
Can you say that again, Katie? We've just lost you for a second.
I'm hoping I'm back with you now.
Yep.
Okay, there are plenty of packages out there, and they're really cost efficient. There are some bigger organizations. I have used 123-reg, REG. They do my website and my email hosting, and they've been really actually very good and very cost efficient. I mean, they're the GoDaddies of this world, Waves, etc.
Yeah.
Do your research, have a play about, run a free trial, see what works for you, but 100% have a website and populate it with stuff that you think that your clients will get value from.
Play around on things like Squarespace, WordPress, that kind of thing, because they're free and or really cheap to have a go at it first, and then hire out as you need people. So jump on Upwork. You can get people. You might not need someone to do the entire website. You might just need help with the logo, or, you know, just some back end stuff that is just getting a little bit, you know, out of your depth, and you can just hire them for, you know, 3 hours worth of work. And that's much more effective than getting somebody to do the whole thing.
Whole shebang. You know, you're absolutely right. And I would say at the same time, while you're doing all of that, you know, kind of keep your messaging consistent, you know, have a really good snappy headline about who you are and what you do. Put your elevator pitch, your sort of 60 seconds, this is who I am, this is what I do it, and this is who I'm doing it for in there. And you can consistently repeat all of that through all of your marketing activities. So you've done it once and you're using it repeatedly.
We have a question here. If you don't have any specialization to offer, how do you pitch your services? What are your suggestions? Create specialization.
Who asked that question? Who's
Diana.
That? Diana, you definitely have a specialization, Diana. You just haven't been brave enough to kind of identify it. As PAs, EAs, VAs, we are all hugely experienced professionals. When you are selling yourself, it's really hard to draw that out. Ask other people what they think are your specializations. You know, it's
what are the kinds of things that people ask you for advice on? So if you had friends who are starting up a business, what questions would they come to you for? Yeah. What can you talk about with doing no research? What's something that's easy for you to talk about? Have a think about the kinds of things that, I mean, for me, funnily enough, I do all these Excel tutorials, and yet I am absolutely, frankly, shit at it. I Google everything, and I'm always just doing another little short course, and I kind of just Google things as they come along. I don't ever sell myself as an Excel expert. I don't claim to be. But I do know a ton about social media, video editing, video presentation, that kind of thing. So if I was specializing, I would think, okay, what can I talk about for hours on end with no preparation? If somebody said, I need you to do a TED talk and I need you to do it now, what would you be able to talk about? I'd be able to talk about YouTube. For you, it might be that you'd be able to talk about Excel, as exciting as that would be. Word processing, so many.
Diary management.
Make one up.
Yeah.
Think about one and go, okay, I'm going to be the Excel girl, and I'm going to do every LinkedIn learning course there is on Excel. I'm going to learn everything there is to know. And because I've decided that that's what I'm going to specialize in. But have a think about your ideal customer and what they want, and let that dictate what you're going to specialize.
Yeah. And look back through your experience. You know, when you've worked previously, what did you enjoy doing? What did you actually really relish spending your time on doing? Because those are probably the skills that are going to be the best for you to market, because you'll enjoy marketing them, because you enjoy doing it. There's nothing worse than saying to somebody, oh, I do bookkeeping, and you hate it, because you end up doing a really...
Defeats the purpose of being a freelancer too.
Exactly.
Don't take on the crap you don't want.
Let somebody else do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to networking. How important is it? I mean, we've covered a little bit about the fact that it is.
Yeah.
And if you are somebody who really struggles with it, what do you recommend, and what are the best ways to go about networking?
Gosh, networking is a really tough one, and I totally understand that people really find it hard and they get really anxious and nervous about it. And it is, to be fair, it's a skill. So I would say, going back to what we said originally, if you have defined what your services are, who you want to target, you will feel much more confident about walking into a networking event. Oh, in the good old days when we could walk into networking events. But online, you will feel much more confident about telling people what you do and how you can help them and the ways in which you can help them. And I would wholly recommend doing some research and joining. You don't have to participate at some online networking events, just watching and seeing what's going on. See if the people in that room or that Zoom chat are the sort of people that you want to be working with. I mean, you can actually be really selective. I mean, there are lots of big networking organizations out there, but there are also some really small local ones that, you know, have maybe 4 or 5 people who meet once a month. So if you do your research, test them out and give it a whirl. But I'm afraid networking is in my experience, my biggest success when it comes to new business. It is
nothing will
by
beat just
far
meeting people one-on-one. And think about how, you know, meeting people in person makes you feel. If I meet somebody, a personal trainer, I need to feel really comfortable with somebody who's going to see me at my sweatiest, most disgusting and be torturing Saturday morning. And I want someone that I click with. I don't want someone that I don't like. And so if I can go to an event and I know in the back of my head, been thinking about getting a personal trainer, and I meet someone and they go, actually, I offer personal training services. And I think, well, she was really lovely, or he was really nice and he was friendly and I felt comfortable talking to them. They're going to stick in my mind and I'm going to go, actually, maybe I'll go and give them a call, versus the person who, you know, is standoffish and comes across as someone who might be a bit, you know, intimidating for me to speak to because I'm going to be very vulnerable while I'm in my sweaty, disgusting lycra. So, you know, have a think about just the way you communicate with people, you connect with people, and they're exactly the same. They want to work with somebody that they like, that's going to be easy to get along with.
I would also say, you know, when you're defining your services and you're putting your sort of 60 seconds all about me speech together, practice it with friends, practice it with colleagues, you know, actually get it completely nailed, because as a result your confidence levels will be up before you've even entered that Zoom chat. You know, you will be able to feel more relaxed because you're that much more prepared, and because you've done the kind of bit of hard work at the back end by doing all of the definition stuff, you'll come across much better too. But you know, the other thing is that, you know, 20% of the people in that room look like they're so confident. You know, 80% of them are sitting there absolutely terrified in exactly the same way as you are. You know, we are all in the same boat when we're doing those type of networking things, but I'm afraid it is absolutely essential. And networking isn't just sitting in a networking event, you know, it is within your own group, your own social group, you know, that forms part and parcel of that networking. You know, when you've got your own business, you eat, sleep, breathe it 24/7 without becoming too boring.
Just dropping it into conversation here and there, carrying your business cards with you all the time. Guys, Katie offers coaching services to people who are starting their VA business. And I think that's really important to mention right now, because, you know, she offers so much value and she's been so generous with her time. But if you want one-on-one sessions with Katie, she does offer them, and she's offering a massive discount at the moment for EA How To members until the end of the month. So I'm going to pop that in the chat, but if you email Katie at katie-va.com, and we've got a discount code there, you can get Katie's services for, I think it's 55% off. My God.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
Until the end of the month. So if you want to be able to go into detail about the kinds of things that we can't go into detail about, insurances, and that's the kind of thing that, I don't know about everyone else, but for me, particularly not coming from the UK, if I was starting up here, that, you know, the legal stuff that's really important and scary and that I don't know about, if you want to be able to talk to Katie one-on-one about that, then please do reach out. I'm going to pop her email address in the chat as well, but we can finish up. We've got one more comment from someone. Oh, sorry guys, I'm losing my screens here. Let's bring up the Q&A again. Jamie joined late, and you don't need to apologize, Jamie. That's absolutely fine. Oh, and Maggie started saying that she's just started with Katie and she's fab. I know she's fab. So you guys everybody needs to know how fab Katie is.
Right back at you, Maggie. You are incredible.
So Jamie is saying, how do you know, or what should I be thinking about? How do I know that I can make the leap from full-time employee to 100% business owner status?
Great question, Jamie. Really great question. I'm afraid I'm going to push it slightly back at you. You have to sit down and you have to do the maths. You have to work out how much you need to earn, and you need to work out how many hours and how many clients that equates to before you can walk away from any full-time job. So once you've got that number in your head or in mind, then what you will do is you will slowly be working towards that as a goal. You will know.
Side hustle.
Yeah, absolutely. So you will know once you start hitting that number that it's okay to walk away. And you probably will walk away from the full time at the point that you're kind of 50% on the new business from your
There will come
your
a point
virtual
when
assistant.
you're
And
going,
it
I
will
physically
naturally,
don't have the time anymore to take on
I
anyone
would
else.
also, just on that, if there are people out there who are considering, and this is one of my top tips, if you are currently employed and you are considering starting your own virtual assistant business, your first client could well be your existing employer. Okay? Currently, with coronavirus, everybody is looking at cost. You know, cost saving is key. Now, if you can go to your existing employer and save them potentially anything between 50 and 80% of your salary, sorry, that's wrong, not your salary, the employer expenses, so the additional things that your employer has to pay just to keep you in the office doing your job, then it would be a no-brainer. They've still got you doing the job, but they are paying considerably less because of the reduction in overheads that they've got by taking you on as a full-time employed, but under your own business bracket, virtual assistant.
Absolutely. I think it's one of those things that only you can decide how much you're willing to risk and how much you can afford to risk. I am not someone who will ever encourage anyone, regardless of what stage they're at, to just quit their job and dive in. You don't like your current job and, oh, I'm just going to do it, because this takes time and a lot of effort, and things will go wrong along the way, and you know, it will be longer and harder than you're expecting it to be.
Exactly.
There's just no need when we live in an age where you can do this on the side from home. You can use your Saturdays, you can be picking work up on the side for the local lawn mowing company who just needs some help with their books and their website or their appointments. You can go around to local businesses and see if they need help with their appointments, dentists, you know, all kinds.
I've had I've got a really lovely girl who's been coaching with me, and she has driven round all of the local business parks and selected the companies within those business parks who do the sort of industry sector stuff that she's focusing on. And as a result of doing that, she is picking up business left, right, and centre. And these are small businesses, but they are busy and they haven't got the time, the energy, or the inclination to do all of the admin that they've got to do. So be creative about how you come up with those, you know, target lists.
I mean, more and more people are starting to move into shared working spaces. I was talking to someone the other day who has she is doing admin work for an esthetician. So they do injectables, so lip fillers and Botox and that kind of thing, all cosmetic things that can be injected, basically. And surprisingly, they actually operate in a situation where it's a shared clinic, and they pretty much hire their rooms by the day or by the hour. So they share a receptionist, but they all need somebody to do their appointments. And you might have 10 different people sharing that clinic. And it's not like it used to be. It's not as if there's one clinic owner and they have a receptionist and that person does the appointments for everyone. They found that, much like hairdressers renting their own chairs and things like that, rather than working for the salon,
same model. You
need people that's 10 different people who might need somebody to do their appointments. And if someone likes you, they'll say, hey, have you met Jane? She's really good with this stuff. She'll be able to help you. And you know, go that way. So build it up side and go and talk to people in your area, because so many people can use an assistant and they either just haven't got around to it and you're going to walk in at the exact right moment, or they think that they can't afford one because they're thinking of, if you're in London, they might be going, well, I don't have 50,000-60,000 pounds a year plus to hire a full-time assistant. But what they're not realizing is they don't even need a full-time assistant. They might need you a few hours a week. And if you can get that from every, you know, a whole different group of people,
Yeah.
then you're set. But
Yeah.
certainly don't go quitting your job, diving in without testing the water first and building up your client base. And if you've built up enough of a client base, you'll know when the time is to.
Yeah, you will. You absolutely will do. And you are so right. You know, you don't jump out of the frying pan and into the fire. You really do need to build this up. You know, but there are also lots of you lovely ladies and men out there who have been made redundant and are finding it's, you know, tricky, and now is the time for you to think about starting it. And you know, the virtual assistant industry in the UK is really immature. You know, we are a good 10 years behind what the US market is. If you Google virtual assistant now, it takes you instantly to sites in America. You know, there's not much going on here. So have some heart and you know, be brave, and you know, this is actually probably the best time, you know, to get on the bandwagon, because this market is going to grow. I mean, and it will grow really quite quickly, and it will grow, you know, fairly organically in quite a short period of time. You know, in America it's a kudos thing. You know, if you don't have a VA, then you're kind of slightly suffering on the kudos thing. You know, it's a big deal to have a VA in America, and most of the big CEOs have one, and they do their corporate and they do their personal stuff.
And the number of people who aren't called a VA because they want it to look like they have a full-time EA or PA, but they actually have a part-time VA is phenomenal. I see it all the time. And have a think about all of those businesses that have had a full-time assistant that has been made redundant at the moment due to COVID, but as they come back, need someone, and they just can't afford someone full-time. So those businesses are still looking for assistance. They're just not looking for it in the same way that they were before. And that could be you. It could be that they go, okay, we can afford to have somebody 2 days a week. And I know I was speaking to a surgeon today, and he has a PA who does all his correspondence and that kind of thing. It turns out she's actually a VA, and she's part-time, and the other half the time he's answering the phone. And that came up in an organic conversation when I rang him about an appointment, and I was expecting his assistant, and he just told me. But so there's all these people who look like they're paying for full-time assistants and they're paying a fortune, but are actually paying for part-time VAs, and there's a lot of work out there for it.
And I would also say, you know, to the braver of you, have a look and see what's being advertised locally in the sort of administration, secretarial, personal assistant, executive assistant. And if you're feeling really brave, you know, identify who the employer is and give them a call and say, well, have you considered? Here's an opportunity for you to, you know, save a little bit of money. You know, I've got a track record, and all that sort of thing. You know, there are definitely opportunities out there, and they are growing and growing and growing.
Before we leave, we have somebody asking if we're happy to connect on LinkedIn. I would say absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we should probably post those links in here before I go closing down the chat. Also, if you are not a member of EA How To's Facebook group, it is a private Facebook group for assistants only, where we go into detail about this kind of stuff, but we talk about the kinds of things that are less appropriate and don't lend themselves as well to LinkedIn, because it's harder to have a conversation on LinkedIn. So we also talk about fun stuff like gin as well. So jump in. I think I've said gin a lot today. Can you tell that I'd really like
hashtag Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah, well, we have Whatever Wednesday, and we have Motivation Monday, Tipsy Tuesday, which oddly enough isn't about gin, but it could be, unless you're providing a tip on a new gin. But Tipsy Tuesday, where we provide tips, and we'll have, sometimes we do themed weeks, so tips on a particular thing, whether it's Excel or having and getting respect in the workplace or salary negotiations. We talk about all kinds of stuff in there. So join there, and I will post a link on LinkedIn to Katie's LinkedIn as well. And
thanks, lovely.
To this, but if you look up EA How To on LinkedIn, which I'm assuming is how you found us in the first place, you will already see some links to Katie's LinkedIn on there. I said LinkedIn a lot the last few seconds. LinkedIn.
It's like ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
I'm not being paid every time I say LinkedIn. Yeah, jump on the EA How To LinkedIn page. That also in the banner there, you'll see a link to the Facebook page if you haven't been able to find it for some reason, but it's facebook.com/groups/EA How To. And I'm going to be doing a session on smart goal setting. So setting smart goals and objectives. So stay tuned for that. And also I've been thinking about doing a session on an ideal client avatar, just doing a little workshop with a small group just in the Facebook group on Facebook Live or something like that. And I think after today's conversation, that would probably be really valuable. So
really helpful.
If you want that, come into the group, let me know that you're keen and I will schedule that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time, Katie. I know that you've been so generous and we really appreciate it. So if you guys are setting up, I can't tell you how valuable it would be to book in some sessions with Katie and get some one-on-one advice from her.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from any of you. I really would, and absolutely looking forward to helping as many of you as I possibly can kind of get there quicker and a bit smarter than I perhaps started up. So yeah, do get in touch, connect on LinkedIn, send me an email, but looking forward to hearing from you. If you want that code as well, have you shared that, Alicia?
Yes, I have put it in there. So it's EAHT20 and you
Perfect.
can email Katie at katie-va.com. So guys, make sure you copy that down before I close the chat so you don't forget. Otherwise, you can always ping me on Facebook or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But until the end of the month, and it's 55% off, which is massive, obviously, for EA How To. People saying that they can't see the links. I haven't actually put a link up. Let me put a link face to the LinkedIn group.
I love the enthusiasm. That's great.
I know. So, oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm assuming most of you actually came from LinkedIn. So if you didn't, that's the LinkedIn group. I've put Katie's email and the code in there previously. Let's put the Facebook one in as well. Give us a wave. Use the wave icon if you are already in the EA How To group. You are so welcome. So, oh, look, loads of hands going up everywhere. So I let anyone know who wasn't able to attend if you think that this session would be of benefit to your friends who are starting up businesses, any business really, but obviously in particular a VA business. All of advice applies to all businesses though. I will be putting this conversation up on the YouTube channel. So here we go. Somebody's asking where I'm putting it up. I will show you right now how to find the YouTube channel. And on there you can find the other conversations that we've had. So we had Neil Davies with us, Project Management Essentials, which was a really great session. We've had the EA How To panel discussion. We've done loads of things, Trello tutorials. So jump on and you can find all of that as well as all of the other tutorials that I post all the time. So the YouTube channel is actually going really well. And I'm finally making some more videos as well as posting the webinars. So jump on there, jump in the Facebook group, email. You're not seeing any links. You should be seeing them in the chat. Can everyone see them now? No links here. No, still not showing links. Why is it not showing links, guys? I can see them.
Yeah, I can see them too. Have we got them just for the panelists, Alicia? No.
Oh, hang on. That might be why. There we go. That would help. Sorry, guys. That was my bad. I'm going to stay with me for a few more minutes and you'll finally see it. Okay. Helps if you put it to attendees and not panelists. So there's the YouTube channel. Next comes the Facebook group. Oh, don't forget EAHT20. That is the code to email to Katie. Katie at katieva-va.com, and also LinkedIn, we'll put one to that. I think most of you are from the LinkedIn page, but if not. Okay, so all of the links are there now, and my apologies. Okay, so EAHT20, email Katie, and you'll get 55% off as long as you do it before the end of the month. You'll be able to chat with her about all things VA and starting a VA business. And you're so welcome, guys. Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, absolutely delighted to sort of share all of that with you. And please do just get in touch if you've got questions.
Absolutely. Thanks again for your time, Katie. I will see you soon.
Pleasure. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys. I'm seeing lots of thank yous. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Catch you later.